after all these years.
Yeah, well, you know, it wasn't a decision that I just thought about this year. In fact, I talked to some of you in here earlier as we were preparing for the bowl that, you know, I didn't think that this would be the year that I'd just kind of step away from it. However, I knew that I wanted to finish my work in athletics as an administrator. I've got a master's degree in athletic administration back from my days at Florida State. And a couple things I think that maybe led to it. One, when I lost my father-in-law earlier this year, it was during the season, and he was a great man. I had a great relationship with him. He wasn't a high-maintenance guy. You didn't have to go see him every 2 weeks, but certainly a tremendous amount of love. I'd been in that family. Daryl and I have been married for 36 years. I dated her for about 30 years before we married, I think. And so I've been in that family a long time. And as I was driving to that funeral, I got to thinking about, you know, it's probably been 2 years since I saw Dr. Fred, is what I called him. And I said, it's crazy to be in a business that consumes so much of your time. And at my age now, and that's when it really dawned on me a little bit. My dad's 85, my mom's in her 80s, and their health is okay. But as I was planning, Daryl and I talking for the last couple of years about how I'd like to see my opportunities maybe present themselves for the future, then that stirred me a little bit. And then as she has dealt with that grief a little bit, and I remember one day getting that call and she said something like, you know, we talked about this maybe 2 years from now or something, but have you given any thought to maybe being able to do it this year? So I knew for the first time that I felt like maybe my wife needed me a little bit more than at any other time. And when Coach, what made my final decision, I felt like too, was that when Coach decided to make a change at the coordinator position and some other movement on the staff, then I thought that was the right time for me also to step away from the on-the-field coaching responsibility, allow a new coordinator to come in with a new line coach. Somebody's going to have to learn a new system, and the timing was right for me to step back, allow a new line coach to come in, have a chance to learn a new system, and there'd be some consistency and continuity behind that. Because I knew I was probably coaching in my last few years. I had a veteran group coming back, and maybe it would have been selfish to say, hey, I'll just stay and finish these seniors. But also that wouldn't be the right thing to do. The right thing is to bring a new guy in, got some veteran players, got a fighting chance to be pretty good in the offensive line next year. So,
have you reflected on the run you've had, part of a national championship down there, kind of a place in history in this state, having been the head coach of one, the assistant at the other?
Yeah, certainly you do. You think about that. And first of all, I'm doing fine in what I'm doing. I've been pretty busy for 3 days, you know, and I'll talk about that. I'm sure somebody's going to ask about that in a second. But so I hadn't really, it's not like, oh, let's go through this process and just sit at home at night and say, well, wow, what have you done here? No, I look back on college football has been great to the Scott family, to the Brad Scott family. I mean, I've had an opportunity in this profession to do about everything that a coach, and be a part of about everything that a coach dreams about doing. You know, having my chance to work at Florida State there for over 10 years and with, you know, a legend coach, cut my teeth in coaching under Bobby Bowden. Learn how to recruit a little bit from Bobby Bowden. Learn how to handle a high-stress job and position and yet do it, you know, in a way that was, I think, pretty calm. Coach Bowden never lost his poise, not to the staff, not to the kids, and not to the media. So that was wonderful. So you get to coach there and coach some great players. My goodness. We had a run there that was just unbelievable. Then to become the offensive coordinator there, be a part of the first national championship at Florida State, to coach Charlie Ward as a Heisman Trophy winner, be a part of coaching him as the coordinator. That was all pretty special. And then moving to South Carolina at a very young age now, I think about 39, my goodness, that's awful young to be a head coach, you know. But I was 39 when I went to South Carolina. And didn't know better, you know what I mean? You've just been in a very successful place. And when I say didn't know better, I'm thinking about the first year, and we had some success that first year and got in a bowl game and won it. And I didn't have any idea just how big that game was to that fan base and to that university until you won the game. And then Carroll Campbell, I think, was the governor then. He's in the locker room in tears, and I'm stepping back and saying, wow, we came home that night and there's thousands of people out at the airport, and I'm thinking this was a pretty big deal, you know, to the Gamecock Nation, I guess you'd say. And why you didn't know better is because every year at Florida State we went to get bowl games. I was there, and every year we won bowl games. I just thought you were supposed to go to bowl games and win bowl games. So certainly that was a special time. Some of the wins we had there in the program, some of the road wins, you think about that and all. But also think about how good the SEC East was during that run. There was a couple of national championships by teams. There was several Heisman Trophy winners, I think, during that run. There were some awfully good teams, and we worked extremely hard there. Had a pretty good recruiting base, and later you don't always get to finish out your recruiting, but I know that there were several classes there of kids that were recruited, did very well. So you felt good about the way that you left that program. But then to have the opportunity to come to Clemson, kind of be reunited, there with a little bit with Tommy being the coach here, taking the job. And, a guy needs a job when he's been fired, so that was an opportunity for me not just to continue employment, but also my retirement and benefits and things like that in this state. But what a run I think we've had here, to be here 12 years and to be a part of a program as fine as the Clemson program with the great tradition that we have here, to be bowl eligible every one of those years, to serve in capacity from a position coach to a coordinator. And you think back on the years, I don't know exactly, was it maybe 03, Tim, the years we beat Florida State?
Right, that was the first time Clemson beat Florida State since they joined the league.
Yeah. Well, that year when we had that win, had a pretty good win the last game of the regular season, and then went to the Peach Bowl, Chick-fil-A Bowl, I should say, and beat Tennessee in 06.
They were sixth ranked.
They were sixth ranked. Florida State was about third. That little finish was fun, and you think back on that, and then to be here and with the transition from when Coach Sweeney took over, and to be part of a rally, watching him, great young head coach, great talent, great motivation skills that he has to rally the troops to win enough games for him to get that job, be part of the first division championship here, and then to watch Coach Sweeney, as he moves forward with this program, which I have no doubts will be extremely successful. I think our recruiting class this year proves that, what he's able to do both as a coach and as a recruiter. So yeah, there's been some good times. You reflect back on it. Maybe the only other thing I'd say, outside the Rose Bowl, I think I've had an opportunity to be a part of just about every major bowl out there. Now there's some new ones that pop up every year, but I'm talking about maybe the BCS bowls, and just having to be able to do that. Raising two sons on the sideline, no life's better than that, and the opportunities and the memories that we'll have as a family from this profession are very, very strong.
With the success that you had in recruiting this year, any pause to say maybe one more year, or?
No, you just say, thank you, Lord. If I was going to do anything, I'm glad it was the last year, And it was fun. This was a great class for our program right now. And, to be able to be a part of that and recruit a few kids in here from Florida. And that was good. But the most exciting part for me was, being a little selfish here, was the dad, watching Jeff's expression and seeing the Tony Stewart commitment there on TV, and just seeing his excitement and joy that he and Coach Sweeney there. And you think back, and you knew the hard work, the long hours, the ups and downs that go with the profession. Here's your son. What a great experience that is, first of all, to be able to coach with him. But seeing pull that off, and maybe the recruiting class kind of came together. So that was very rewarding and exciting for me. And I'll always look back on this class. I sure hope these guys turn out to be good players. I think they will. But I'll always look back on that as being part of that last class, and kind of just one of his first classes. So, that's just from a selfish standpoint, I guess you might say, from a father and a son experience. But we're all part of the same Tiger family here.
You were a guy from the state of Florida, then you coached there for 10 years, part of a big deal there, but now you've been in this state for like 18 years. I mean, will you think of yourself as a state of South Carolina guy when you look at your career, or a state of Florida guy? Yeah,
definitely South Carolina. When we moved up here, the boys were, I think John was in elementary school, Jeff maybe just starting junior high school, and during those formative years of their life in athletics, being part of a high school program, playing ball, being in college, going to school, it's all been in South Carolina. And South Carolina's been very good to our family too, and this is home for us, and I would expect that we would retire here and stay here a long, long time. Florida, we wouldn't trade that experience for anything. My family's still in Florida, but I'll go to Florida and I'll visit and all, but we always look forward to coming back home to South Carolina.
So what does your role encompass now?
Yeah, well, I guess what I can say right now is that just executing the part of my contract that says that I can be reassigned. And I've been reassigned in football right now. And Coach Sweeney's first challenge for me, I think, is we've had this good recruiting class. Now let's get them into school. And I don't know if you're aware of all the hoops and they have to jump these days before they can officially become eligible. So the clearinghouse, there's only about 15 checklist things, and then getting in Clemson, there's probably another, 5 things you got to do right there. So managing our signing class right now and helping them is a big part of that. I'll obviously be involved in our recruiting efforts. It'll be more of an on-campus situation, but as far as the official role and title, that will be determined and presented later. But right now, I've just been reassigned, and so I'm happy about that. And got me in office still and still in the building, it's worked out real well.
Are you allowed to, because obviously you have great deep recruiting ties all over the place, you won't be able to recruit like you're an assistant coach, but will you be able to lend your talents to the staff in some way in that regard?
Well, I think that I can. I certainly will make sure that I stay within the guidelines of the rules, but if it's structure and organization, and I think that we can still benefit from maybe some of the years of experience that I've had. I think it'll be easier to be able to help Jeff and both the coordinators who are extremely involved in our recruiting and rating and ranking players, Coach Steele and now Coach Morris. Those coordinators play a big role in the deciding of the final call on that. And the phone calls, the messages, all the stuff that sometimes the recruiting coordinator has to get up and leave a meeting and all. There's a lot of those a day. I think I can be there and help with that a little bit too. You're going to have good calls and bad calls there. Sometimes you took players, sometimes you didn't take players. So, that works out on something that I think I can help out too. So I believe I'll be able to help both our staffs be able to stay on task more in what they're supposed to be doing by some of the efforts that I'll be able to present in the classroom, in the office.
You talked to Bobby or Tommy since this?
I hadn't talked to Coach Bobby Bowden yet. I spoke with him not too long ago, and it's been a little bit since I talked with Tommy, but he occasionally keeps up with things that are happening in college football, and we talk sometimes, but not so much specifically about things at Clemson. But yeah, I hadn't. I'm gonna look forward to talking to Coach Bobby Bowden here pretty soon. I did get a copy of his new book, so I might have time to read it now. I hadn't read it yet, so I'm looking forward to that.
Have you given yourself a chance to maybe fast forward to a few weeks from now when spring practice gets going and you're not going to be out there with a list of giving instruction and doing what you've been doing for months?
Well, I think that'll be the first time that you reflect on, wait a minute, I'm not in that drill, or I'm not responsible for that, or shouldn't be in the middle of that. And I'll try to have a plan that day. I might show up a little late and leave a little early or something if I feel like I'm getting too emotionally involved here. But no, I'll be fine. I'm looking forward to, being a part of being able to welcome high school coaches and prospects and things like that. So I'll find things that I'll be able to do during practice. But I left with no regrets and no, oh my goodness, I'm not going to be able to, I don't know if I can be able to handle this. This was something that I believe that I thought out very carefully, and I appreciate the opportunity that I have to still be here at Clemson and be part of this. So I think I hadn't missed it yet, and I've been home a little earlier at night. I didn't know there was 6 o'clock news still, and the funny thing that happened this week with Daryl, so I'm there. She said, honey, how's your day going? I said, well, it went pretty good. I stayed busy doing this and this. I said, by the way, what did you do? Did you do this? Did you do this? Did you do? I had a little checklist of things I was thinking that maybe she did. She pointed that knife at me, she was cooking supper, and said, hey, I'm not one of your players. Don't be asking me what I did. I don't have to perform a checklist for you every day. So you better go back to work. So no, I think the adjustment might be harder on her part than my part.
So you look at this, and because you're able to do it this way instead of just totally going cold turkey, it makes the transition easier?
Yeah, in cold turkey meaning?
That you're not around it at all.
Oh, yeah, not around it at all. Well, like I said, that these weren't discussions that were just done this December. You know, I've had made it clear to maybe even administration people that one day down the line, you know, that I had an interest in being in an administrative role, because that's just something I've enjoyed. I'm kind of an organized guy. I'm maybe a list guy. What's important today, let's get it accomplished before we finish the day. So I kind of felt like maybe people skills and all that, maybe that was going to be something that I could finish my career doing. So it had been something that I discussed, and even with Coach Sweeney and even Coach Bowden when he was here, you know, there was a timetable that I kind of had in the back of my mind that I had discussed with the coaches. And again, the changes that were being made, I just felt like this was the right time. And then the reflection back on my father-in-law and my wife, and who's been so supportive and been through so much in 32 years. This game's changed a bunch, as we all know. It's no longer just a football season job. This is a year-round job that you come to work early in the morning and you stay late at night, all but about maybe 2.5 weeks of the summer that you could call your own. So this was something that, you know, I was ready to do it. And once I made that decision, I'm kind of that kind of a guy. I'm not going to look back and have any second guess myself or any regrets. I don't regret a thing. And like I've said earlier today already, you know, college football's been great to the Scott family. And to have a son now involved heavily like Jeff is here, I have a lot of, you know, pride for him, yeah, but it's been special to have had the opportunity to work with him, and we'll continue to do that. And not that I don't love my other son, John. I probably love him just as much, you know that. He's the one that listened. He didn't go in this crazy football business. He's up there freezing in Boston these days, but he's doing well for himself also.
Brad, you remember when, I take it you went to Dabo and said, hey, I think I want to do this. Do you remember when that was, not the exact date, but was it a week or two before Robbie Caldwell, or do you remember when it was?
Oh yeah, I do remember, because again, this was something that now I had discussed my, you know, long-term plans years ago, you know, yeah. And but this year, when maybe they were making the decisions, and when I knew for sure there was a staff change being made, especially at the coordinator position, that's when I approached him at that time. And I don't know if it took him back just a little bit, because, you know, obviously when you're making changes as a head coach and having have done that in my past, you know, that's never an easy day, or it's a very difficult thing to do, because you care about people and you care about families. So I think that might have just taken him back a second there, just because maybe that wasn't on his agenda for that day. I don't know if it was, but he said, well, wow, you know, I don't know, you know, I don't worry about that segment. I don't this, I don't that, and then, you know, what would you think? And I did, you know, of course, Coach made the final decision. I do say I do know a guy though that I think would do an awesome job, Coach. I think our personalities are very similar, our coaching styles are very similar, and that's when I just presented Robbie's name to him, and he knew Robbie from the past. And then I think a day or two later we talked about it again. And
had you been talking to Robbie?
I had not until I talked to Coach Sweeney.
Yeah. Okay.
and found out for sure if that was something that there was a possibility of doing that. I know I didn't want to walk away from Clemson. I wanted to still be part of what's going on around here, and I was very happy that I still could be. And I'm going to do this, you know, as long as I feel like I'm still making a difference in our program and in the lives of kids, because I'll still be around these same boys. That's some of the satisfactions at our age that you get from coaching. I've said it before, that scoreboard sometimes says you're losing when you know as a coach you're winning, and sometimes it says you're winning when you know as a coach maybe you're losing. And I think we're winning at Clemson regardless of what that scoreboard says on Saturdays, the way things are done here. And especially Coach Sweeney with the support staff that he's put around these kids and these players has been tremendous. And you know, I feel like I get to be still an extension to our program doing that.
You have a master's degree.
I do.
You like the way things are being done here. You like the approach, the structure, the processes. You ever think about being an athletic director?
Well, I never have. You know, I've thought about being being an assistant athletic director or so maybe. I think once you've been a head coach, you know about that, but the buck stops here. Those are tough jobs. And well, there's so much involved these days. There used to be a time where it was the old football coach that was the AD,
Right.
but the business has changed so very, very much that I don't think my background is good enough to be an athletic director. I think that, yes, many years ago I studied athletic administration and I did well in those courses and all that, but to be an athletic director this day and time, I think you have to wear many hats, and I've just been a football coach for 30 plus years, and I don't think that qualifies me to make decisions that an athletic director has to make on a daily basis.
So Terry Don doesn't need to be looking over his shoulder right
No,
now?
Terry Don's doing a fabulous job. He doesn't need my help, I can assure you that.